Alright, this is the board for Kingdom of Solomon. Before the game starts, before you can ever do anything, there's a couple things you have to do to set up. First thing you do, this is your building card deck. It probably will look different when the actual game comes out, but you've got to draw the opening buildings that you have. So like here's a Master Artisan building, here's a Granary, Shrine, and another Guild Hall. So there's, and there's multiples of these cards, but so those are the opening buildings, and then once these are built at the end of the turn, you'll replenish those with more of them that are off of this. So after you've done that, you'll have to determine who the starting players are, or the starting turn order for the game, which will be altered later on while you're playing. But starting, you can just randomly pick one. So let's see here. It looks like it's going to be blue, red, yellow, green. So that's how the opening turn order will go. And now you're ready to begin. Like any other worker placement game, each person has their workers. In this case, like blue's first. So blue will need to pick a location. You can pick any of these spots that are here on the map. These spots have colors of cubes that once you place them, then you'll earn those cubes. Your workers are working the land to gather those resources for you. There's also some spots over here with the Prophet, which allows you to draw a fortune card, which are these, and I'll explain those in just a moment. Minister, which just gives you 5 victory points. A Thief, which lets you steal 1 resource from your opponent. Trader, you get to trade a resource for different ones, and it doesn't matter which one, just you can trade 1 for 1. And an Artisan, which allows you to collect an extra resource from any of the other ones that you have. So, for example, if they were there with the 2 food, and you have that there, you could gather 3 food from that if you so desire. But there's also these 3 special spots. Now, in a 4-player game, all 3 of these special spots are available to you. As you play with less players, you lose some of the spots. In a 4-player game, you have the Tribute, and that's only in a 4-player. If you have a person on the Tribute spot, you get 1 resource of every single type. If you have the Ark, and that's only on 3 in a 4-player game, you get to take 3 of these fortune cards. And if you go to the altar, this is available in every single game. This allows you to change the turn order. If, say, green takes that spot, green would go to the top once he resolves it, and he become the first player, and everybody else will get moved down. Also, you earn victory points of 3 times the spot you were in when you take that particular spot. So green would also earn 12 victory points for doing so. But the one caveat of taking the altar is that you have to put all of your remaining workers in that location. So basically your turn's done as soon as you take that. But game will progress, like so blue is going to take tribute because that's a lot of resources, 1 for each one. Red's next. Let's just say red gets there. I'm not really like trying to maximize this in any way. I'm just trying to fill out the spots and so we can move forward. So just give me a moment here. And I'm probably going to screw up the turn order at some point, and somebody's watching this and they're going to go, hey, you went there when you didn't have that available. And so I apologize for not maybe being perfect with the turn order. Actually, I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually carrying on. And now let's say green goes there and that. And, well, actually, I think I screwed up there at the end. But regardless, so that's how it turns out. So after all is said and done, you start with the first player, and the first player gets to do the spots that his workers are on in any order they so choose. So blue goes, and then he'll just, okay, I get 2 food for that, so I'll go ahead and collect 2 food. I get a stone for that. I get a timber for that, and so on and so forth. And they collect their resources. And each person will go in turn. I'm not going to show every single one because that'd be really boring and it would take a long time. But after everybody's done and they've collected everything, and since green went there, they do go up on the turn order. But after everybody's collected everything and all the workers are off, now you'll move into the market phase. Now down here you have a market. Now, starting in reverse order, meaning yellow gets to go first, yellow gets to buy or sell 1 resource to the market. Well, right now the market's empty. So let's just say, yellow had a gold, and yellow decides to sell that at the market. Now, underneath the gold, you'll see there's a 7. meaning that it will earn him 7 victory points for selling that gold to the market. So he'll move up on the track by 7 victory points. And then red goes, and red decides that, you know, they're going to sell a timber. I don't have brown, but let's just say, and that earns him 4 victory points. And then blue goes, and blue sells a stone, and that earns him 5 victory points. Now it gets back to green, and green says, you know, actually, I need that gold. So he can then buy the gold from the market, but that costs him 7 victory points, and he'll move back down. Then the next person goes, the next person goes, and so on and so forth. And you can only buy or sell one resource at any time. If at any time you decide to pass and not purchase anything or sell anything on the market, you're done. You can't go to the market anymore, and everybody else gets to keep going. So it's kind of neat that at the very beginning, if the market's empty, you'll end up maybe selling something that you might actually kind of sort of need, but you just have to in order to keep yourself in the market until a resource that you really need, you know, shows up, and you can then do so. And then you keep yourself still in contention as far as the market goes. Really cool. I really like how that market works. Now, after all is said and done, everybody's got all the resources. Now we go back, we do the turn order. Instead of reverse order, we go in the one starting with the first player. You get to build. Now when you build, you have 3 different options for building. Obviously you can build one of these buildings. Each one of these buildings will have a cost that will actually be the certain number of cubes that it will take to build that particular building. It also has a number up on the top, like this granary has 17. It earns you 17 victory points for building this particular building. Now, when you build a building, not only do you get to place a building on the board, which I'll show you, but you also get this particular card and you get to put it in front of you. And you get to use it like a spot if you want. You can place one of your workers right on top of there, and then you get what's there, meaning you receive 3 food. So now you have more options available to you when it comes time to do the placement. When you build a building, as long as the building actually doesn't have, there's a symbol on some of these that actually says that you don't actually place a building. Let's see if I can find one real quick here. Of course, I probably can't. But as long as you get to place a building, here's one. You can see here this winery down here. There's a little cross off on the building. You don't actually place one, but for this one there isn't. You know, you get to place a building. So if you built that, you get to take a building and you get to place it at any of the locations that have a white rectangle available. So you just place your building like so. Now what that does is that now blue would be the only person that could place a meeple in that location. Normally, as always in most worker placement games, you can't ever place 2 workers in the same spot. But everything's open. But once you place a building there, you're the only person that can place one down. There is one exception to that, which I'll explain very soon. But you can notice that as the game is played, these spots will get used up and they won't be available for people to place all that they want. And so, like, you might really want to take that stone, but you just can't because red has built a house there. Now, the second cool thing that you can build are these cool little roads. These just, I guess they don't really look cool, but when you build a road, you attach different locations, and you have to control them, or they have to not have one of these white rectangles on them, so such as like this location or that location. So basically what I'm saying is that you couldn't build a road there because this is no building on it, and you couldn't build a road here between both this red and this blue. But you could build a road here. Now, what happens with the roads is that if blue on this turn places a worker there, they get all of the resources there. They get the 2 food here, they get the 1 timber here, and they get the 1 stone here. If on the next turn they placed one there, they get the 1 stone here, the 1 timber here, and the 2 food there. So as you expand what you control, you'll be able to get more and more resources and allow you to build more and more buildings and do better and better as the game progresses. Now the final thing that you can build is the temple. As the temple, you have to start at the base, build the foundation, then you build the structure, and then you build the columns. You have to go in that order. Now it takes a certain type of cubes to build it, and then just any cube at all. So like a foundation takes a stone cube and any cube at all. So you could say food and a stone, and then you'd build a foundation. So you'd place a little marker there showing that that particular foundation had been built. And you can see it is either worth 5 victory points, or you can take a temple icon. Now, when you take a temple icon, whoever has the most temple icons gets access to the High Priest location. If you have access to the High Priest location, you just place a marker there saying that's you, this allows you one turn and one turn only, one time per turn only, to place one of your workers in a spot that doesn't belong to you. So red could place their worker there in this spot that has a blue building. That's the one exception I referred to earlier. And he would get to take advantage of the roads that blue had built. He'd get this stone, he'd get this timber, and he'd get this 2 food. It is also, if you are in control of the High Priest at the end of the game, it's also worth 20 victory points to your total. So, how does the end of the game come across? There are 3 ways the game ends. If the entire temple gets built, that triggers the end of the game. If every single one of these white rectangle locations where the buildings can be built gets filled, that triggers the end of the game. And if any one player, say blue, ever builds all 5 of their buildings at their disposal, that triggers the end of the game. As with any victory point game, you finish off the turn that you're on, and you total up the victory points. Whoever has the most wins the game. It's a very, very tense, very, very competitive game. As far as worker placement goes, you're not just tending your own island like in a lot of worker placement games where you kind of have that minimal player interaction. This one you really are kind of always butting heads with the other player and kind of fighting over locations, fighting over spots. And I really, really enjoy the fact that not only do you have to try to make your own little network really, really good, you also have to make sure that you kind of mess with everybody else's network of locations to kind of make their network worse. It's just a really, really good, competitive, fun game to play with your friends. But you know I like it. Let me just go a little bit further in depth, and maybe I can convince you to head over to the Kickstarter page and throw some money at this one.